Good evening, everyone. Very welcome. So I'm going to suggest we do a little meditation just to begin with. So you just want to get comfortable. Just start off, just take some nice deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. So as you're breathing in, just really filling up. Just sensing this water that you can gently hear as well. Just letting it into your breath. So inviting your body, mind, heart, soul, spirit, energy just to become more fluid, more open. So why don't you close your eyes and just imagine your body is as a river right now. And you're breathing, you're becoming part of the flow of the river. Softening, everything moving. Everything relaxing. Everything fluid and easy. Entering this space now as we start to notice some fire sounds as well in the music. Just start to shift our attention to being fire right now. This sensation of anything that's not needed right now being burnt up, consumed, offered to the night sky. Just really invite yourself to feel as this warmth, this radiance, this heat. Just integrating now, feeling this balance between the flowing water and the fire that burns. It's really inviting in these two qualities to meet and merge and mix and integrate. So together we can be in a passionate flow state. We can be in an easy presence of light, luminosity. So giving thanks for the elements, for reminding us and connecting to the elements inside of us. As you're breathing, just feeling the connection with the floor, with the space around your head, around your body. So it's feeling rooted and spacious. It's opening up for an interesting evening to be curious on this subject of action, what it might mean for you, what it does mean for you. So really calling in the wisdom of life into this space for all of us, that we might receive exactly what we need in the next stage of our evolution, awakening, inspiration, insight. So just becoming alert and aware and excited to receive new information, energy, possibilities into our life. A nice big breath, just gently relaxing, softly opening the eyes. So good evening, everybody. Most of you I recognize. It's Guy here. And those who don't know me, my name is Guy Barrington, and I live in Praha, Czech Republic. And we've been offering these evenings. This is the last of 5 evenings, exploring new vision, new view in our lives. Just a very quick summary of where we've been, just to give you a context. is that we began on the first evening exploring presence and coming into deeper contact with our I amness, our authentic self, if you like, and recognizing that we are alive more as a process than an object. This subjective, intimate, passionate awareness that moves in and as and through us out into the world, into life. And taking away all the stories and the status and the ideas and identifications, we drop into a more innocent place inside of us that can rest into beingness and presence. So part of our journey exploring presence was also noticing the places where we're not present, where we're attached, overly identified, caught up in the drama of the projection of our lives. And in noticing this, also taking our claws off this, releasing, detaching, and coming back into a more simple state of being. And really allowing ourselves to be here, to simply show up in this moment and in all moments. And beginning this work, if you like, as a practice to notice when I'm showing up and when I'm not showing up, when I'm fully here, when I'm not here. So you start to notice this, and then you start to shift more into having more appreciation and gratitude in the noticing of being here. And this engages us more into the present moment. In shamanism, there's an expression, the point of power is in presence. And what this indicates is that in this present moment, there is wisdom here, there is love here, there's truth here, there's energy here. And where most people are living from is from an idea of self, or an idea of arriving into something in the future, somewhere else, some other day. So we're taking our attention off the future and the past and allowing ourselves to be here in this present moment. This was the work of presence. And the invitation of this was to explore the question, how do I know what I want if I don't know who I am? Or if I don't know where I am? Or who is present? So this leads us into a bigger question, which we begin to look at in vision and intention the last few days. But before that, the second day was about potential. And there was a conversation, an expression I gave to onboard potentials, the things that exist within this physical frame, in between thinking, knowledge, experience, and then what you can call off-body intelligences, if you like, which are in the field. So this is to do with what we refer to as the quantum field or the quantum heart field, that we're surrounded by a sea of consciousness and energy. And part of our potential that I'm inviting us to emerge into is not what's on board, but how we can access the field and then bring it back into this instrument, human instrument, to express and experience. So when you start to entertain the possibility that I can access the quantum field, then you start to get into a very different orientation about what potential means. So it's not just what Guy's cultivated and is aware of and has learned. Suddenly I have access to interact with larger fields of intelligence and energy. And this is a way of explaining telepathy, empathy, clairvoyance, all this phenomena. Healing energy, energy transfer, because we move out of a physical interpretation of self into a multidimensional knowingness of self. So this was the invitation of the work of potential to expand the field of possibility. So we know more of who we are, we know more of what's possible. Now with this, then we engaged in the work of vision, and I invited us to move into receptive vision as opposed to active vision. And this sense of like softening the edges, going into alpha brainwave rhythm, into theta, delta, possibly even gamma, where we learn to expand consciousness and move out of the story, the judgment, the opinion, the knowledge, and we move more deeper into feeling, essence, energy. And in this state, we can have a heightened awareness where we are receiving the quantum field downloading into us. So this non-local heart mind is interacting with us and offering to us visions, inspiration, insights, healing, renovation, renewal, replenishment, all sorts of magic happens when we start to soften the edges. And this particular work of vision, this stage of vision, is really about surrendering the need to control everything. So instead of feeling that I'm here as an individual, separate, alone, detached and cut off from you and everything else, I start to notice myself as a relational being in a constant participation with everything. And one vision of this is to see life as a big interconnected grid, or a beautiful tapestry or woven carpet, where somehow we're all the threads overlapping, weaving together, a huge spider's web. And that somehow what we're doing tonight in this moment is influencing the whole field, as is what everyone else is doing, is interacting with the whole field. Now this phenomena was also studied by Carl Jung when he gave reference to something which he calls the collective unconscious, which is actually based on a more ancient idea from Plato called the world soul. And I'm sure that's based on an even more ancient idea understood by the yogis throughout the ages of the super consciousness or God consciousness. There exists in this, what some people refer to as the Akashic Library, realms of possibility that we can access in the quantum field. And as we start to relax our prefrontal cortex and our usual way of interpreting reality, we open the space to receive what we call inspiration. Inspiration, you can also understand the word as in-spirit action, in the same way you can understand the word imagination as images into action, or intuition, inner tuition. So these are inner processes, not really inner or outer, but they're to do with the quantum field. We're interacting with something other than the regular physical senses. And I introduced this idea of ESP, instead of being extra sensory perception, as extended sensory perception. And what's extending that is our multidimensional awareness. We are expanding this notion of self that is including all of life. And this is not a new idea. In the teachings of the masters, they say when I and the Father are one, or the Native American Indians, when we are seeing everything as brothers and sisters, the rivers, the stars, the rocks, the animals, there's been this implicit understanding that everything is interconnected and woven together. So knowing this as a paradigm, as a way of seeing, alters the way we start behaving. If I believe that I'm an interconnected being in communion with everything, then my way of listening and learning and sharing is relational. So right now it's like what we're doing is this relational context that this is happening in. If I believe I'm a separate thought-based, story-filled entity driven by past, future and all sorts of dramas of mind, then I live in a state of fear, survival, separation, scarcity, because I feel disconnected from the fundamental foundational source of life itself. So for me, this is the remedy of all remedies, if there is such a thing, is this shift of attention from experiencing ourselves as an egoic identity removed somehow in some sort of vacuum of mind, and moving into what can be called heart presence. There's my daughter, good timing. She's off for bath time. Yeah. So moving into this heart presence. I've got a very sensitive microphone here. She's quite far away. Yeah, this sense of really honouring the heart that we are, which is not based in story, it's not based in judgment, it's not based in opinion. I've been feeling this for a long time actually. This shift of our sense of self shifts our behaviour, shifts our interaction, shifts our way of creation. And I've been saying this on every evening, that the invitation to a new view, new vision, is really a paradigm shift. And I'm pretty optimistic that as a species we're learning to move into a new way of grasping ourselves, that we're not just physical beings bound by so-called evolutionary processes, that we are metaphysical beings, who happen to exist within a physical body. That our reach is way beyond what you can see, feel, taste and touch. And there's so much evidence all around us to express this: empathy, telepathy, internal vision, which explains very clearly this phenomena of interconnectedness. So I've been inviting us into this every evening. On the fourth evening, yesterday, we looked at intention, And this, for me, is the active side of vision. So the receptive, or the more feminine yin side of vision, is opening to receive. It's a movement of surrender. So I'm opening my consciousness and energy up to listen, really, intimately listen to what's present. And I'm more observing and engaging with vision in this way. It's a little bit more passive, it's more gentle. And then intention has an energy around it of will, of focus, of directedness. It's the archer shooting the arrow at the target. There's a certain aim and more purposefulness. So when you complement these two together, you're up to receiving vision, so you get an essence, you get a taste, you get a sense, a perfume, a flavor of what's possible. And then with intention, like, you choose that and say, yes, I want to explore this. And you dedicate some of your life to that. You make a stand for that. And the intentional way is to declare this. So you receive a vision, and if you can receive a vision, everyone receives visions all the time. But somebody who makes an intention, claims the vision, and says yes to it. Says, yeah, I want this. I'm going to act in this. I'm going to align my energy to this and give passion and purpose to this. So I'd just like to invite you to see these two different shifts. There's the yin side of receiving and the yang side of activation. So both things are true when I say this. On the one hand, yes, life can be going with the flow. Yeah, this is also true. This synchronistic experience where I surrender and listen and flow. Flow state, people call this. But then there's another order of being, which is I go with the flow that I've just created. Some people call this swimming upstream. For me, it's not swimming upstream. It's making a whole new river. Like, you make a river out of your inspiration, and you declare that, and you take a stand for that, and you take action for that, and you manifest something brand new on the earth. And I feel that this is what we're about. You know, for me, I certainly experience myself like this, that we're leading edge creators. And our work is to innovate and expand the potential of what it is to be human. Yeah, so we're always on the edge of the possibility of the brand new, always on the possibility of the next new manifestation. And to see this is to be very so you're leading edge, you're pioneer, an entrepreneur, but really you're listening to the pulse of the universe. What wants to express next? Yeah, what is the next dawn? What is the next sun rising going to bring to us? So I really invite you into that, because there's a lot of people who create, which is simply a modification of the past, slightly adapting what was yesterday. You know, so you went to Spain last year, you go to France next year, instead of going to Borneo, or fly to the moon. So it's like this sense of where are we living from? Are we living with gradual extensions of our comfort zone, of the familiar, or are we open to the purity of inspiration that actually wants to guide us and interact with us and invite us into newness? I certainly feel this is my calling, if you like, and I feel it's not just mine. I feel it's something which is present for all of us as we listen in deep. Yeah. So hopefully this is making some sense to you. This connection, because that's what I promised this evening, is this weaving together of all these different 5 threads, main threads that we've been speaking about the last 4 evenings, and today with the focus on action. Now, here on Zoom, very welcome everybody, and also on Facebook Live, where some people are watching and listening. I invite you, if you've got any questions during the evening, just to type them in the comments, either here on the chat on Zoom or the comments on Facebook, and I'll respond to them. Or if I say something or share something you want more clarification about, or you just want me to pause and breathe, I'd just like to digest, please interact. So it's a little bit strange because I'm speaking here to the screen with nobody going, or responding in questions. So I'm imagining in my fantasy that you are sitting all together in a circle, a nice room together, or a nice cup of tea, and we're hanging out together, having a dialogue about the nature of creation. We're engaged or sat around the fire having an important subject. Thank you. You're smiling. Thank you, Christina. Great. I like to see that. I can see Anne smiling. Well, if you want to, you can come on camera as well. I've from the last 4 evenings, I've spotlighted myself, which means that I'm the only picture that shows up on the Facebook Live. Yeah. So if you wanted to put your camera on, you can also do that as well if you're on Zoom. Yeah? Okay, so I'm going to introduce tonight's subject. Yeah. And when I'm speaking about action, I really invite you to drink it in that I'm speaking to you personally. Yeah. Really personally, just allowing yourself to feel that this conversation is for you. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. This will happen someday. Yeah, we'll be hanging out together. That's nice. Yeah. 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 Right now, I put myself in the position of offering this challenge, and in this position of wishing, desiring, wanting to share some things I've learned along the way. And my desire, just so you know this, underneath all this, my intention is to really uplift humanity and to serve us and to share wisdom and to share truth and what's emerging through us, with the wish and intention that it brings benefit to your personal life, but also to the lives of the people around you. And together, one person at a time, if you like, or group at a time, we start to make a shift that has an influence on humanity. As we learn to live more heart-centered, more connected, more in the quantum field, everything starts to line up. And I have found purpose and meaning and expression inside myself and from this communion with Great Spirit, if you like, that doesn't need a philosophy or religion or someone else's ideas or ideologies to support it. There was a brief stage in my life where I started to believe in other people's definitions, but not really. It never felt true to me. And other people sort of painting certain maps and ways and saying, this is it, this is it, this is it. And actually what I kept bumping into was what really people were telling me was their version of a belief system. And a belief system has rules, it has morality, has instructions and behavioral codes. And I felt within all of this that this was a limiting on the freedom of the spontaneous soul that wishes to dance and manifest moment to moment to moment. So what I've suggested with these last 4 days is there's a possibility of moving beyond belief. This was on the first evening I talk about this. To live without the necessity of belief. Yeah. Now we could bring in a word, a Christian word, faith, or in Hindu terminology or metaphysics it's called Kundalini Shakti, or Holy Spirit fire. That there's another way of functioning which is not based on self-definition. I'd like you to study this. Do you need something to tell you who you are? Just I want you to find the ridiculousness of that. That we need a belief system or an idea system to remind me who I am. Or, right here, right now, in your breath, body, feeling, sensation, energy, and presence. Don't you know? Can't you allow the beingness that's here right now to be you without needing all the definition and description and ideas of others to superimpose onto you? So this sense that our presence is enough. Our presence is us. Now this was a huge relief for me to really see this so cleanly and clearly, where I felt like I could lay down all of my beliefs, not just some of them, all of them. So I don't function on belief. I'm not looking for definition or measurement or idea or description from outside in. I've laid it down. Now when I use language, like right now, and I'm giving distinctions and descriptions, I might be using something which looks like a belief because it has the appearance in language and form and structure. But I want to let you know what I'm really doing is painting a poem. It's light, it's free, it's not attached, it's not dogmatic, it's empty of agenda. It's a moment of description, like right now, which is an invitation to feel something underneath the words. Now there's at least two ways of knowing something. There's knowing it as knowledge, where you get intellectual facts about something, or there's a dynamic which is called gnosis, where you know something directly. You feel it, know it, see it, sense it. And it's a super quick process. It's immediate. It lives in the speed of now. And the heart knows. Sometimes we get a gut awareness, an instinctual response. Our gut knows in the physical realm. When there's danger, when there's love, when there's attraction, our gut knows many different things. Mental faculties can interpret many forms of knowledge and weigh and contrast and compare. Has a definite function, which is beautiful and fantastic. But the one place, if you're interested in truth, as far as I've realized, is the heart knows. And when we drop more into our heart-centered presence, we have a sense of who we are very cleanly and clearly. And we have a sense of how to navigate in the world and what to express and how to express. So for me, the heart is the light and the guide. And all these hummingbirds you see around me, these all represent, for me, the vibrational heart, the quantum heart field that we all are or are waking up into. Yeah. I don't want you to hear anything I say as the truth. I invite you to challenge openly and question and inquire. And I want you to hear, if it's possible for you to hear, that I'm your friend, I'm brother. I'm here as another human on the earth, on this path, walking side by side with a desire to support and encourage and empower and brighten the way a little bit. So this is where I'm coming from. So the subject today is action. Action. Yeah. Now, I wonder what you hear when I just close your eyes from it. Just I say the word action. What comes up for you? And if you want to in the chat, yeah, let's have a bit of interaction, everyone. What does action mean to you? When you hear the word action, what does it trigger as an association for you?
Movement.
Could you type it? Is that okay? It's a bit clearer on the thing. Is that okay, Mika? Let's see in the chat box. Chat box is down on the bottom. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to speak, but you can type. Yeah, you type when you feel to express something. Action for me is energy directed outwards. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. To act upon is a verb, isn't it? It's a movement. It has a sensation of dynamism to it. Activity, doing, which is it's got a different orientation to beingness. Beingness has a sense of a steady, open awareness, which is holding space. I'm being here. You could argue that to be is also a verb. To be is a doing of something, but I'm inviting you to drop deeper than that. There's a sense of being, which is like the sky is simply holding the space, while the clouds are acting upon the movement and doing various things. And I'm saying it like this because right here, right now, I invite you to recognize that you are here as a being. There's a place of unlimited stillness in and as you right now. And coexisting at exactly the same moment is also processes of listening, understanding, feeling, sensing, energizing. And this only makes sense when you understand yourself as a multidimensional being, that all perspectives are true and all perspectives coexist. Now, if you really study this, it ends any sense of paradox, any sense of duality, any sense of either-orness. When you start to recognize that every dimension has its own expression and experience, and they're all valid and they're all coexisting. What matters is what we're tuned into. Yeah. Now, if we're tuned into a singular dimension, say we're tuned into thinking, for example, and we're not tuned into sensation or emotion, then we prioritize thinking over those other faculties. And we might get all righteous and positional and, this is what is the truth. Or we might be in our emotional body and we assert that as if that's the truth. Yeah. I want you to exist that none of these things are the truth. They're all pieces of the great, vast puzzle of your multidimensional existence. And what I've learned to do, and I'm learning to do more continuously, is to spread my awareness and include everything all at once. Yeah. So being here with my mind, body, heart, spirit, everything coexisting all together. I want to bring this in because in this sense, yeah, nice. I'm just reading here. I am that I am, and from that place I move with a surety. Yeah, nice. Action brings up a vision of the ocean and the moon. Yeah, it's wonderful. Let's enter. The more we bring our attention to this, the more we meditate upon this theme, the more we give it focus. The more focus there is, the more we enter in the quantum field, or the Akashic library. We go to the specific book in the cosmic wisdom space, which is called the Action Book. And what we're doing right now is we're tuning in by speaking about the subject, focusing about the subject. So just keep inviting, because you're probably going to see this from many, many different perspectives over the next hour or so. Yeah. So you've expressed a sentence, a few of you there. Keep going, keep expressing. See what else wants to come. What else wants to come in the communication. So what I'm suggesting from my perspective is that there's a multidimensionality about us, which means there's multidimensional action or activity, which is coexisting. Right, stress, for example, a lot of people experience stress, is like an isolated, limited attention just to the lower three centers, where we're interpreting reality in a certain way, acting according to that interpretation, and then naming and measuring that interpretation and action as stress. So it creates a hormonal response in the body, an emotional response. Now, if at the same moment as your lower three centers were busy in activity, which was maybe tense or busy or rushed, at the same moment, if you could open your heart, your mind, your crown, and recognize there's places inside of you which are very, very peaceful, very calm, very observing, very at ease, and you let them be present at the same moment of the busyness of activity, then you start to become the eye in the hurricane, or more poetically, you become the center of the washing machine which is spinning round. So there's this huge movement, but you're still at the same time of that movement. So I feel, and I don't know if it's strange for you to hear this, but I feel it's perfectly possible to be absolutely still in the midst of all the movement. And it's possible to be in the movement and in the moment of stillness. They just coexist at different dimensions. It's a matter of focus. So how is this relevant to activity, okay? I'll share a video I made some months ago. It's called self-scanning. So I'm reading questions as they come along. The other night when we were supposed to be practicing receptivity, I was pulling out my rattles and flutes and water stick, and I'm playing along with you. Lovely. You're a funny here, okay? Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Sounds to me like you're receiving some beautiful music in that moment of receptivity. Yeah, thank you. I've lost my focus, but I'm totally fine with that. It's okay, because I'm not attached to that being the particular thing we need to say next. So just breathing back into action, activity. Alright, so tonight is, it's a symphony moment. It's like we're all the different instruments in the orchestra have been rehearsing and learning the piece, if you like. And tonight's the night of the performance. So we're in this great big orchestra, symphony orchestra hall. It's like the conductor is present, and all the instruments are present, the audience is present, and there's this event about to happen. And in the midst of this presentation, this performance, I just want you to just get in touch with the coordination of all the elements. Everything from the lighting to ticket sales to people sitting in the right seats, as well as all the instruments, the learning, the conductor, the music, the performance itself. So the whole thing is this multifaceted, multidimensional symphony of many things. And I'm saying this because for me the creative process is like this. It's a symphony moment. There's some stages in the creative process where we're visioning. So we're at vision quest, we're at the top of the mountain or at the top of our consciousness and energy, asking, praying for vision. Give me direction, show me, switch the lights on, let me see what's next in my reality. Then there's other stages in the creative process where we're cultivating, we're gathering our potential, our skills. That's us doing the practice, that's us practicing the piece on the violin. We're rehearsing, we're testing out the possibilities. And then there's other moments of intention and action where we're creating a plan, a structure, a form, a timetable. So we're really detailing now. It's like we're bringing it very close to the earth. And then the final stages of the action process is this performance, is the delivery or the expression of a creative gift, of a creative possibility. So these final stages. So I want you to recognize that there's different stages which are occurring in the creative process, and understanding where you are in the different stages, where you are in those different stages and what's necessary, and how our action is in direct connection with these different stages. So it's not just random action, it's very detailed action based on exactly the right next step. So who I want to introduce back into the space right now is the conductor of the orchestra, or the conductress. How would you say the feminine conductor? Yeah, the conductee. Right. The one who is integrating and holding all the space, and coordinating. And I would point this as being our meta heart function. Some people call this the oversoul, or the observer, or just pure awareness. But the deepest place in us that is the blue sky that can hold all the clouds and can hold the blue sky as an of itself. The conductor has a meta-awareness of every instrument, every sound, every piece of the music, how the audience will receive it, where to give more emphasis, decrease emphasis. So it's this meta view. Now this meta view, this heart presence, for me, has to be the one that's harmonizing and coordinating the whole creative dance. I would not give that job to the intellect. I would not give that job just to my instinctual ability or just to the visionary part. Those are functional behaviors. They're functional, they're doing things. But the one who's bringing it all together, the one who's sitting here right now, who's listening, feeling, sensing, the one who is harmonizing this moment in time, is also the same one who harmonizes your creative activity. And I would suggest that things like stress or disappointment are where we've moved away from this center and we've moved into a thought interpretation, or we've got caught up just in the physical activity of something. So just knowing that, bring your attention back to your spacious blue sky open-heartedness and allow your meta presence to come into the space. It's like on a building site, you have the architect and you have the manager, the one who's helping all the builders build the building. Somebody has an overview. This is us, the overview self. The witness, the awareness, the harmonizer, and the heart presence. Now something I want to say right here in this moment. So I've said this to a few people here, probably heard this before. But imagine throwing a dinner party, okay? And so you got your guests, you got the food, you got the time, date, and everything, got the house ready. And you're busy, cooking and preparing and everything else. And your guests come, you serve them the food, they have a great time. And at the end of the evening, you realized you've missed the party. You were so busy in the doing, so busy in the presentation, so busy with everybody else that you forget to show up in your own party. And this is something I'd just like to invite us into in the dance of creation. We are the creator. We are the innovator, the visioneer, the imagineer. We are the one who holds purpose and intention. And we are the one who also delivers this through certain skills and potentials and activities. But what I'm inviting us into is passionate presence in the midst of our creativity. So I've crafted different works for myself. One is as DJ. I love music. I love putting music together. I absolutely love it when I play music. I can feel it, sense it, see it, and deliver it. I'm in the party. I'm not a detached DJ who's just listening in his headphones. I'm in the music. I'm in myself. I'm with the dancers. I'm with the space. I'm with the energy. And also I'm a dance facilitator and a coach. It's like, for me, it's passionate engagement. I'm in what I'm doing, what I'm choosing to do. I know this may sound obvious, but there's so many people who live with this absence of meaning or purpose or pleasure simply because they're not inviting themselves into the party. They're judging what's happening. They're limiting what's happening. And they're saying, I'm not allowed to be here, or I can't do this, or I need to be in service for others, or something. We can always, in every given moment, show up. And this is about aliveness. This is about showing up as aliveness in presence. I'm aware I'm saying a lot of things. Does anyone have any questions or comments? That also gives me a moment to have a quick sip of tea. Does anyone have anything you'd like to ask before I carry on with different things? I'm just reading on Facebook, Eliza, hi. Intention, movement. Yeah, great, fantastic. Okay. You question away when you want to, okay? Let's see, the other night, good. So a little scheme I work with, if you like, and this is just like a little map or model, is it's got 3 aspects to it. First aspect is creator or creatress. Yeah. Second aspect is creativity. And the third aspect is creation. Now you could see these as 3 interwoven circles, yeah, or a triangle connected, different points of one triangle. But for me, this is a dancing process that I function inside of and as when in creation process. So my creator being is the one having vision, is the one receiving vision, is the one who's present inside the vision. So that's my I amness. I am here in the midst of my own aliveness. Creativity is my potential. It's my skill base, my talents, my gifts, my abilities, my knowledge, everything I've cultivated through the ages of living and learning. Yeah. And that's my nature nurture, so that the skills that I've come on board with in my DNA, soul DNA, what I've learned from the culture, civilization, everything else. Yeah. So that's my skill base. And then there's also the aspect of creation, which is the delivery mechanism. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to refer to that. So Mika's asking, talk more about shutting yourself out of the party. Getting caught up in doing, how to balance that. Yeah, this is what I'm referring to, okay? So this is all part of this conversation. There's a question from Mika there. How to stay in the party, not to push yourself outside the party. So this scheme, creator, creativity, creation, this is a dance. Okay? So I'm receiving vision, inspiration, then I'm activating my skill base, and then I'm delivering the fruition, the fruit of this as a creation. Yeah? Now, on this planet, the last 2,000 years, and longer, we've been living in this abstract culture where we've placed God up in the sky, the absent Father God, who's detached from body, where sexuality is some kind of sin, wrongdoing. We should feel ashamed and guilty about having a body with senses and feelings and desires. And this manifests in lots of varieties of way where, psychologically we're trying to control and conquer desire and avoid what we call temptation, all sorts of things. Even the story of like Eve and the Garden of Eden. The whole notion that the body is somehow sinful or wrong or bad or inherently disgusting and ugly or something like this. This all comes from detached patriarchal Godhead separatist interpretation, in my view. Yeah, it's out of balance. It's out of balance. Yeah? And the reason I'm saying this is one of the very things that keeps us out of the party. Yeah, the party is our experiential self. Yeah, it's how you are right now, how you're experiencing this moment. Your heart is beating. I hope you're breathing. You're feeling something. You're hearing. You're digesting. There's a lot of processes happening right now, which are all intimately part of your aliveness, not just thinking. Yeah, there's a multi-dimensional stream of activity happening in and with you, which you may or may not be aware of. In deeper states of meditation and self-scanning, you start to notice more and more of what's actually present, yeah, which is huge. It's enormous. In matriarchal religion, or focused on the deity, more of the feminine, the goddess religions, if you like, or spiritual ways of being, they probably weren't even called religions. They were just ways of life, lifestyle, where the feminine was included. This is where we have Pachamama, we have Gaia, we have love of the earth and respect of the earth. We would never take from the earth in the way that's been done in terms of business and corporations, like fracking, jumping right into there and just pulling out what you want for your agenda, and all sorts of cut down the rainforest and just, destroy all these medicine plants and everything that's present, animal ecosystems, like with no regard for long-term vision, no regard for the earth herself, no sensitivity that she is a thinking, feeling being as we are, as all of life is. So matriarchal view is one which includes the body. Sexuality is fantastic. Pleasure is beautiful. There is nothing to be afraid of or in sin with. There's just delight, pleasure, embodiment, and it's all perfectly okay. Yeah, it's more than okay. It's our gift. And when you put these two together, the masculine and the feminine, and have integration, harmony, cooperation, then you have the best of everything. Yeah, it's no longer the detached father, it's the visionary father. Yeah, it's the inspirational masculinity. It's the purity of pure presence, which then manifests through the spine all the way down into the earth and anchors into the earth. So this is all part of my response, Mika, in answer to how to stay in the party. Yeah? For whatever reason, you, I, others have got into this idea that I don't have permission to live my life. Somewhere along the line of your experience, you've got messages and received conditioning, which is it's not okay to be you. I invite you to keep breathing and feeling and allowing if this triggers anything inside your system. Just see if you can just gently hear this and feel touched by this in a way that gives more freedom and space. This has been this denial of the body. You know, how many of us have tried to control the body through diet or repression or control or, you know, manipulation, all sorts of mind over body tactics. Now, we've gone so far to make the body an image, which we've externalized the body as an image, as an object. You know, this conversation that women are objectified, everything is objectified. Yeah, when we see everything as an image, not as the actual. Yeah, to learn to love the actual, what's actually present, not the image of what should be or could be or might be, or what others think should be. This permission to what is. Yeah? And this natural state is the one, you know, you don't even have to call it acceptance. It just is acceptance. It's just the recognition that I am here as this. This is where my life is happening. Instead of, I'm an image I've got to arrive at in the future, someday, one day. So one suggestion, Mika, as you asked the question, why not showing up in the party? Perhaps there's an image present of how you should be in the party. Yeah, will people like me, love me? Will they like the food? Will they like my presence? Will they like each other? Will they, you know, will I be appreciated? Will I be seen? Yeah, so many stories of agenda, need, and all these kind of forces which are running in the background, which are inhibiting you just simply showing up in your breath, feeling embodiment, and enjoying the company. So the work I teach is about identifying the limiting conversations that we have, the stories we tell ourselves, the non-deserving stories, I'm not good enough stories, the I'm not allowed to, not given permission to. And to get to that place of sending loads and loads of compassion there, to where these stories were born in us, you know, moments of limitation, other people's opinions and judgments, and set yourself free that the fact you can have awareness of them means you've now got a choice. And, you know, maybe it's too big a step for me to say to you, just drop your beliefs. Learn to function from faith, from the heart intelligence. But that's what I really want to say to you, is that there's a whole realm of wisdom, love, compassion, and presence which is beyond the mind, which is more true to you than the mind could ever be. Yeah, the mind isn't big enough to reach into the heart. The heart is way big enough to hold the mind on its little finger. You know, 10 minds, 1,000 minds. And when you enter into the mind presence, as opposed to heart presence, you start to feel the difference of contraction to expansion. So the deeper invitation is to stop your belief in the story as being true. Yeah? To notice where you exclude yourself from the party of your own experience. To notice it, to name it, to love it, have compassion, and make a new choice. I choose to show up. I choose to be here. This is my life. Yeah. Right now it's clean slate. Like this cleaned up is what's now and what's next. Not what was from the past, what was conditioned. In my seeing of it, I can take my attachment off it. I can take my identification off it. And in that freedom, I have the possibility of being really present. And in presence, there is only love. There is only joy in presence. Not a joy that's been manufactured or conditioned or contrived, but the natural, simple joy of an innocent child, for example. Yeah, the joy of seeing and smelling, the curiosity, the wonder, the pleasure, the excitement of existence for itself. So this is what starts to happen as you start to drop the attachment to the mind as interpreting a reality, and you come back into more your sense of natural. It's not even deserving, see? Deserving is still an idea. Maybe that's the halfway house. You have to say to yourself with some affirmation, I deserve love, I deserve life. But you get to a point where you realize that's another belief system. And you drop that, and you just recognize yourself as being one who is naturally deserving, but one who is naturally alive with permission. Yeah. So my invitation is just go deeper. Go deeper than mind. Take your hands off the reins of the stories that dominate and control and contrive situations, and give yourself permission to live. Now, I'm linking this together with the realm of action. Yeah. So we have action, which is in this context that I'm expressing right now. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. Action in this context, which is very, very clear. My heart is responding. Yeah, I am responding right now. Here I am, responding inside my life, as opposed to mind is filtering, judging, interpreting, and reacting based on preconditioned expectations. So this simple distinction between responding, heart response, and a kind of personality-oriented reaction. Learning to notice that. Train yourself in a meditative form of awareness where you wake up, see it, catch it, release it. Yeah, you catch it in the awareness, not like you're grabbing it again. You catch it in your awareness. I see it, I release it. Yeah. Some people call it a blue sky meditation. Meditate as the sky, notice the clouds, keep coming back to the sky, the sky, the sky, the sky. Have a curiosity and love for all the clouds that appear. This is phenomena, but recognize that these are passing phenomena. Yeah, different flavors, different nuances, different spectrum of reality that's possible to live. But it doesn't define you. A cloud can never define the sky. Yeah. See if you can really grasp that. The cloud could never define the sky. The sky can see all the clouds all at once, all the time, and can hold all of them and more than them, and none of them. Yeah. You are a sky being. You are the blue sky. This is why I've spent the last 5 evenings with you with this invitation to shift your vision. Shift your vision. You're not a cloud, you're the sky. You know, I could have just said that for 5 nights. Yeah. And relaxing as that. You know, that there's a notion in the West that we've got to be busy the whole time. I've got to be doing something. You know, my life's meaningful if I'm doing stuff. This is a bit of a challenge for me personally as a oriented creator. But I've traveled to other countries, India and Thailand sometimes, where people are chilling out a lot of the time. I remember being in India and people just sitting around having cups of tea all day, every day, and the next day. Just chatting, being, existing. And not so much activity on the outside. And I come to the West again, and it's like I'm driven by goals and expectations and timetables and deadlines and the pressure, the timetable pressure and stress that we all live under of trying to meet future expectations. So the doing. So in the sea of consciousness and energy that we've been conditioned into, I say conditioned into, we've come to believe it's true because it keeps showing up around us. It doesn't mean it is true. Just because 1,000 people keep saying it's true doesn't mean it's true. It just means 1,000 people are deluded in the idea that it's true, that we should be busy, that somehow we should work hard. This is another great one. The next challenge, by the way, is on abundance, which I'm going to start in February. And I'm going to challenge this idea of abundance needs loads of effort. To really invite in effortlessness, or what the Chinese call wu wei, which is actionless action, where life appears in perfect timing with all the things that meet your inspiration. So I just want to bring in this sense of action. Really what would be more accurate in this conversation is like action and rest and the harmony between both. Finding the harmony. When I'm well rested, my action is very, very efficient. When I'm not well rested, my action has a tension and a stress and a willful push to it. So the more good I feel about myself, the more nourished, the more healthy, the more in an optimum state of beingness, then the more I notice I've got more resources to bring to all my action. So I just invite you to consider that in your own life. Ask yourself this question. You can either do it now or later or often. Where is my action coming from? Why am I doing what I'm doing? What is my reason for being in this moment? And just clarify that for yourselves. Are you doing it for yourself, for another, because you feel you have to? It's a duty, you should do it, or because you love to do it? It's a natural unfolding. Your agenda underneath the activity determines the experience of it. So 2 people can make a meal. One person's bored and they do it every day and they can't even taste or smell the food. They're not serving it with any pleasure or joy. And the other person's on a romantic date, offering their loved one, beloved, the most delicious food they've prepared from their heart. Both people are serving food. the context which it's being served in is completely different. So I really invite you to notice this in the realm of action, is who are you being inside of the action? Yeah? Who am I being right now inside of my talking? And I openly shared with you just now, my purpose in doing this is to really uplift and share and serve and enrich us. So that gives me already a place of looking from, which is already abundant. I'm already filled up and full like a fountain as I'm sharing this with you. Because my context is to offer this, because it's been of huge benefit to me to see and live this way. And by offering it out to you, there's a wish that it's of huge benefit and wish that it's going to be good for you too. If I was a lecturer at university and on a low salary and felt obligated to deliver this talk on action right now, my energy would be different. My action and behavior would be different. My agenda would be different, and you'd be feeling me differently. Yeah, because we are sensitive beings, and I just want you just to check in on this for yourself. Somebody's doing a certain action, but you can feel the agenda underneath it most of the time. Yeah, you can feel it. It's in the unconscious or it's in your conscious awareness, depending how sensitive and aware you are. But we largely feel the intentionality under and within the action. Now, if that's true, that also means other people can feel your intentionality. I hope that the words I'm speaking are interesting for you, but I hope more than that, you can actually feel where I'm coming from right now. Yeah. As you start to tune into where is Guy coming from now, why is he offering this? Get curious about that. You start to recognize the places in you where you give from love, where you give from your wisdom and beauty, and how people receive that. So what we're introducing here is the alignment of your beingness with your activity, which is more of an answer to the question about showing up in the party. Showing up in the party. Thank you very much, yeah. I love that. I just want to read this. Yes, you're very clear, brother, like a breath of fresh air with a hummingbird's wings cutting through the silence. I love that description. Yeah, thank you for seeing me, feeling me. That's such a lovely description. I'm like a hummingbird's wings cutting through the silence. Gosh, beautiful. I often say to people, I feel like I'm a hummingbird disguised as a human being. That's kind of more how I feel myself to be, as a living vibration, energy, which is expressing through this instrument here. So this is how I sense myself more often. And it changes, where I sense myself from, where you sense yourself from, really changes the whole way you live. The quality of your experience is not really much to do with conditions at all. Of course, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, of course the conditions make a difference. But as a foundational difference, as an existential difference, the quality of essence is who are you being in the middle of your life. So I want you to look at this. I want you to look at this. Who are you being in the middle of your activity, in the middle of your actions? Ask you, why am I doing this? Where's it coming from? And if it's not deep enough and profound enough for you, take a moment, pause, recenter yourself, do a breath practice, align yourself, discover more of your radiant heart, and then take the action. Yeah? It really, really is important to come back in. Yeah, Tiger Windwalker, fantastic, love this. What a name, Tiger, love it. Yeah, so really invite you to come back into that wild, free, potent, heartful space. Okay, I'm going to drop a sentence in now, see how you feel about this. I've been living inside of this for some time. Have faith in Allah, but tie up your camels. Okay, so I just want you to, I'll say it again. Have faith in Allah, but tie up your camels. All right, someone said this to me years ago. And it's an invitation to recognize, yes, believe in Great Spirit and have faith in Great Spirit, connect to Great Spirit. But recognize your human responsibilities. Recognize your part in the play. Yeah? Recognize your abilities, your gifts, your mastery, your capacity. Yeah? This is also linked to what I said earlier about the distinction between going with the flow That's the same as having faith with Allah. I trust in life, I trust in God, I trust the Spirit will lead me and guide me. And I expect you know many people like this. You know people like this who just live on intuition. They just live on faith. Yeah? Then you have the other extreme, people who just live on their identity. It's all willful. There is no God. There's no higher spirit or force. My life is determined. I'm a determinist. It's by my own will and effort that my life exists. So that's at two ends of the extreme spectrum. Total faith, I give it all to God, or I give it all to my identity of self. Now for me, it's a rainbow spectrum. It's all this and everything, yeah? So yes, I have faith in Allah. I have faith in God. I have faith in Great Spirit, the mystery, the goddess. Yeah, I offer my heart in devotion to this life force that we belong to and are part of. And at the same time, I love my Guyness and who I am as an identity, as a personality, as a character, with all my gifts, talents, abilities, experiences. Yeah? And together, in teamwork, in partnership, yeah, we have the perfect alignment between thy will and my will. So for me, this ends the contradiction, and I really invite you to listen to this very clearly and deeply. This ends the contradiction that there's something wrong with me as an ego. Yeah? That is an isolated view where you're just studying yourself as the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, you're identifying yourself as this outer persona, and you're saying, I am only this. What I'm saying to you is, yes, I am this, but this is the living extension of the life force, of the love force. What's extending through me right now and through you right now is Great Spirit, individualized as you. So I said this, I think, every evening. As Martin Luther King says, we're the same, but different. Yeah, we're the same in spirit, we're the same in heart, but we're different in our presentation of this. Our uniqueness is not uniqueness of the life force. Yeah? We share the same foundational ground. We are all one in the quantum heart field. Yeah? There is only life here. There is only love here. There is only wisdom here, and we are this. Yeah? Now the beauty of creation is, yes, we are only this, but luckily we've all got different costumes on. And this creates the playground of what is known as the divine Leela, the sacred play of difference. So we all have our different nuances, our different colors, our different interpretations, our different expressions, our different artwork, our different heart work. Yeah. And this is the love, unity and diversity. They're together and. It's not either or. Yeah. So this is an invitation for us to look at this. Have faith in Allah, but tie up your camels. Where are you in this balance? Are you giving it all to God? Please take care of my finances and relationships and love life and health. I give it to you. Yep. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to carry on eating my pizzas and doing nothing. Right, I give it all to you. So it's your responsibility. I've denied my human responsibilities. Or the other extreme is I take total responsibility and I ignore Great Spirit. Yeah, I ignore intuition, inspiration, imagination, the subtle messages, inner whispers. I ignore all of it. And for me, I'm suggesting and inviting and welcoming you into an opportunity of integration. Yes, I live with faith and I take my responsibility. Yeah. Let's have a little look at developmental stages, just for a moment. Right. So this is a scheme that I work with, which is, so we come as the baby, and then we stand, the toddler, and we walk around for a bit, and we become the adolescent, and then we mature into the adult. Yeah, different timelines for all of us, perhaps. 18 does not necessarily define you as an adult, nor does 21, nor does 50. It's like we're not just talking about the physical timeline, we're also talking about the metaphysical timeline. Yeah, there are some older people who are still very in their toddler phase. There are some young toddlers in their maturity phase. You often call these children old souls. They come in with some deep sense of knowingness, responsibility, and maturity, even though they're in a little body. I am very blessed to be amongst one of these in this moment. Yeah, my daughter, she's cosmic, lovely, beautiful. Anyway, so this is something to understand about the inner connectedness we have with ourselves and others. Yeah. So let's just describe this a bit more detail. In the stage of babyhood, we are usually, primarily, in the realm of dependency. Yeah? So we depend upon our mother, the breast, the milk, the safety, the ground, the foundation. Absolutely necessary. Yeah. So the dependency phase is the initial welcoming party that brings us to the earth, that allows us to ground into our bodies and feel safe and secure at home. And I'm very aware this is not going very well for a lot of people, but this is the ideal scenario, is in the dependency phase, we're loved, nourished, and welcomed. Anyone who gets an opportunity to do this, I do lots of inner child work, and I often say it's never too late to have a happy childhood. Because we can do this process called reparenting, where you bring back and give the gifts of welcoming, nourishment, and acceptance if it wasn't present for you in your dependency phase. You can bring back along the timeline and drop in what was missing and reinsert and reconnect that sense of wholeness. It's very possible, which is good news. Yeah. Anyway, so there's a dependency phase. As we start to stand up and become from a four-legged to a two-legged, interesting, you're crawling, and then suddenly you've got two legs and you're wobbling for a bit, then you find your center, and then you're standing and then moving. This uprightness, look at it, it's the position of I am. You're a four-legged animal, human animal, then you stand up and it's the birth of will. It's the birth of direction. It's the birth of I can now move by myself independently. So it's the initial stages of independence. And anyone who's watched and observed a toddler, they move off in their independence, then they turn around and look to see where mum and dad is, and they come toddling back, feel safe again, then they toddle off again. Yeah, you caregivers, it says this elastic band. You're moving between independence and dependency. This carries on into teenage years, adolescence. As we're growing up, we're learning more about this sense of who am I and my uniqueness, separate from the dependency of my early years caregivers. We're finding our way. In traditional cultures, there would be rites of passage which would support us smoothly through these different initiation rites into independence. But often, without these rites of passage, these conscious processes, we have these rude awakenings of, forcefully trying to find independence, which is often in some form of rebellion and disassociation and aggressive action, sometimes to cut free from something. Where these transitions can be made much more smoothly. It is possible. And in terms of workshops and rituals, it's very possible to do rites of passage rituals where you reconnect to this natural stage of independence, which is you falling in love with your you-ness, your giftedness, your presence, your genius, your possibilities. Okay, let me move to the final stage, which is from dependency into independence, into what I call interdependence. Yeah, interdependence. So interdependence is what I consider to be a stage of maturity where I'm here in my uniqueness and individuality that I've claimed and crafted and realized. You're there in your independence, in your beauty, your magnificence, your difference. And we meet together either in couple or community, tribe or culture, globally. We meet together and share the gifts of what we realized in our independence. So now we consciously start to offer our uniqueness together with others. And it creates a force field. It creates a dynamic unity field. When you start to share your giftedness with others, it multiplies tenfold, 20-fold, 100-fold. It multiplies. The more you share your space with, you share yourself with, the more it grows and expands with others. Now I just want you to look at culture and just observe, and this is not a generalization. Well, this is a generalization, but there's lots of differences within it. But for me, we're in the stage of teenage. We're in a teenage culture, which is based on stimulus, sex, and, addiction to images and ideas. It's the search for independence. Who am I? Who am I? Everything's asking this question. Who am I? Who should I be? And we're fed all these false images of what we should be or could be or might be. So there's no sense of empowerment that comes with this final stage of interdependence. We're still in this movement between dependency and independence. This is my view, yeah? a culture which is based on this is an arrogant culture that rapes the earth, that exploits, that takes, doesn't really care so much, because it's only cared about its own self-orientation, self-importance, because it hasn't made that compassionate leap into the heart where it sees the value of being together with, of cooperation above and beyond competition, where I'm trying to dominate or get more than you or take from you. So the context, I feel, that we're growing into as a civilization, as a humanity, is this maturing process into interdependence. And there's not many people who are talking about this or naming this. Hundreds of years ago, William Blake, great poet and mystic, described this process in three simple ways. He said there's the birth of innocence, which is the realm of the child, the realm of dependency. Then comes the encounter with experience, which is when you're breaking out of the nursery. It's like Wendy leaving Peter Pan's story and growing from the girl to the woman. It's like when we step out into the world and find our own way, and we meet the harsh realities of what it's like to be human and experience the kind of the challenge of crafting an identity within all this. And then comes the final stage where innocence meets experience. Now this is very interesting, and I feel this is what most people are calling these days awakening. You can search it on Google, awakening. What does this mean? Well, for me, this is what it really means. It's the awakenings, the second birth. There's in Gnostic Christianity, they talk about the second coming of Christ. For me, this is not the physical showing up of Jesus who's going to come around again. This is about the incarnation of Christ consciousness or life consciousness, which is born in pure awareness. We recognize this as us. Now, this has got a very different character to the original innocence that we came with. Original innocence is the bliss of the newborn child that has no conditions. Doesn't have the brain to understand conditions. It's not even developed the software to understand, how thinking works, how thinking divides and separates and categorizes. So this is a bit like Forrest Gump, if you know that film. It's like the naive innocence where everything's okay and beautiful and wonderful and magical. And there's a lot of people who are trying to return to that kind of innocence. And they're calling it spirituality. It's a naive spirituality which doesn't take any responsibility for anything. Some people call this spiritual escapism. There's all these different words for very old and obvious ways of being. But this return to innocence, the original innocence, you can't go back into the womb. You're too big now. You're not going to fit. Now, you can't just live in the realm of experience again and again and again. You get bored and tired of it eventually. How many drugs can you take? How much sex can you have? How much food can you eat? At what point does the stimulus tire you? That you recognize it's a pointless activity to keep refueling the engine with these temporal pleasures. And then comes the search for meaning. What is it all about? This is the reawakening of the Christ consciousness. This is the reawakening of innocence, which then comes through the vehicle of experience. And this is what I'm referring to as having faith in Allah, but tying up your camels. Okay? All right? I have faith in the innocence of life, and I take my full independent responsibility, and we're going to collaborate. We're going to do this together. I and my will. I'm a living extension of source energy. I give myself to this self-expression. The reason why I want to pause sometimes is that I don't want to overtalk to you, so you stop listening, so you stop hearing. I want to stay in an energy so that we can stay inspired and connected. Okay, so let's just do a quick recap. So I was referring to our heart as the conductor of the orchestra, who has a meta overview and has this capacity to integrate and harmonize everything. And the conductor of the orchestra is, in this scheme that we've just referred to, is one who's awakening to their innocence, resurgence of life in them, through the vehicle of experience. So there's a maturity, there's a responsibility. I'm not giving it all to God. I'm playing my part as an extension of this God force. I'm taking on my roles and gifts and abilities, and I'm bringing that to the table. I'm bringing that out into life. But it's a together with. So happily I'll pray and meditate into deep states of consciousness, and happily I'll use my intellect and will and guts and energy and sweat and tears to move the bricks, the stone, the wood, the manifestation. I'm going to play my part. Yeah, it's not either or, it's and that's been my message all week, is this integration of everything, multi-dimensional inclusion. Everything's included, everything's welcome. Right, so let's have another look and connecting now action to vision and intention. Yeah. Right. So we could distinguish that there are surface actions, like there are duties, there are necessities that need to be done. You know, the washing up, take the rubbish out, you know, get dressed, have a shower. There's certain surface activities and functions that we need to do to maintain our existence. You know, health habits, you know, expressive habits, and so forth. Yeah. And these have their own intrinsic meaning, but they wouldn't necessarily be considered the deep, meaningful expressions of your heart self. Yeah. There's a deeper dimension of stuff that comes through when we start to do what's called our work. Yeah, and work has got a capital W. It's more easy to understand this in the Tibetan wording. There's the shift between karma, which is the work of clearing the unconscious, yeah, and resolving the wounded aspects of us and the traumas and asking forgiveness, letting go and healing. So there's the karmic aspects of our life, where we're kind of cleaning up, refreshing, rebalancing. And that prepares us for the Dharma, which is the transmission of our heart work. Yeah. I came to this realization at some point, is that you can only heal so much, and then you're going to die. So it's like, you know, I don't want to spend my whole life in the pursuit of healing, you know, of getting well, getting better. Of course, I'm going to maintain health to the best of my ability and, you know, fine-tune and maintain my capacities and abilities. But at some point, I give my life to Dharma. Yeah, and this is like the birthing of responsibility, where I say, I'm going to play my part now. I'm part of the co-creation of this world, this life. Yeah, I'm not waiting. I'm not passively holding back. I'm not creating all these stories of apathy or procrastination, or, you know, it's not the perfect time, or I'm not perfect enough. I'm dropping all the stories of belief, and I'm playing my part and doing. So I'm getting on the field. I'm not in the audience. I'm playing the game. Yeah. I want to just share from my experience. There was a certain moment, it was very young actually, I think I was like 12 or maybe 16, but I remember having this like really deep prayer, and I can't even remember where it came from or why it came, but I just remember saying the prayer, I offer myself in service to life. You know, it was like I was on fire, you know, and I felt this like full force of the ecstasy of existence, and in the midst of all of that, the only thing that felt true for me was to offer myself to this. Yeah. Whatever I am in Guy, with my abilities and knowledge and experience, I offer this. I make myself an offering to the life love force. And I really feel that was probably the significant moment where spirit, which is life, which is love, makes, and I'd say the word use in the most beautiful way possible, makes good use of the instrument, me. Yeah? I willingly give myself in service to life. Now, I genuinely believe that if I didn't do that, if I didn't make that offering, that act of willingness to recognize the spirit force and give myself to that I would be now having a relatively ordinary life without a sense of purpose or meaning, or great spirit would be moving through me because of this, the law of free will. If I don't offer myself to it, it's not going to come. If I say, yes, I am willing, yes, I have devotion and desire and openings, then the universe responds to that in respect for what you're saying, I'm ready to give and receive. So here's another way of looking at your life. If your life is not happening the way you wish it to, perhaps you haven't really made yourself fully an offering yet. You know, just something for you to inquire into. You know, are you delaying your Dharma? You know, are you putting your heart work into some other life or some other time, somewhere else? You know, are you over-obsessed in the karmic work? Yeah. So just invite you to be really, really honest in your own inquiry around this. Because this is something we're looking at here in regards to what motivates the action. You know, just a simple question, why do you do what you do? Yeah. Now, if I've committed myself and offered myself in service to life experience, then my expectation is life's going to move through me, through what I do. And anyone who knows me, I create different forms to express through: trance dance, coaching, dance facilitation, poetry, writing, all sorts of different ways. They're all vehicles for expressing the same essential thing, that I'm here of service. And I've given myself consciously, willfully, lovingly to that. Because in my heart of hearts, I know it's why I'm here. I've always known that. I've known that's why I'm here. And I genuinely feel this is why we're all here. We go through life experience, cultivating gifts, talents, abilities. But then the third stage, as William Blake describes it, this maturity phase, in that moment is to offer our experience to be used for the benefit of others, for the benefit of life, which also includes us. This is another place that people get to sometimes. In serving others, I'm also serving the deepest heart self to which I belong. So it's divinely selfish. It's like you're actually serving the life force, which includes you. This beautifulness where you are included in the acts of your giving. In my giving now to you, I'm receiving. In my giving as a DJ, I'm receiving. As a dance teacher, I'm receiving. It's a circle. And my agenda, just to be really clear, other people might hear this later, that's not the only reason I'm giving. I'm not giving to take back for myself. It's a mutual, beneficial, evolving, growing dance in which the one who's giving is deserving, naturally, of being in the party. Like I'm in the middle of this while I'm sharing it. So my aliveness is also part of the contribution. Yeah, so in my experience, this is a foundational shift. Is to get to that place inside of you where you can come to, in your heart of hearts, I am willing to offer myself to life. Yeah, use me. I'm an instrument of life, love, beauty. I'm here to serve humanity, consciousness, the evolution of life on earth. Yeah. From that willingness, you might not have any idea in that moment what you're going to do. None, zero. But your courage and bravery and willingness has opened the doorway. Then what starts to happen is you get shown. You get shown, you start to bump into people, you meet people through this synchronicity field, which line up with your heart desires. Yeah. So I've spent a lot of my life in trainings, workshops, rituals, ceremonies, gathering beautiful gems and treasures from so many different people. And I keep getting guided to meet different people who have the next treasure, which I can receive, digest, integrate, and then give as part of the service to others. So what I also say back to you is that the realm of human action, for me, is very purposeful and very deliberate and very coordinated, every single detail. And in reverse engineering and looking back, I can see that every single thing in my life makes sense, has place and purpose, and I'm making use of it in this present moment. So I don't live with regret or wish things were different or that was out of place, or even the hardest, most difficult, abusive, suffering moments, and I've been through a few here and there. Even those hard knocks times, for me, they've actually been a springboard, which has invited me in the contrast to go even deeper into listening, deeper into love, deeper into compassion. So for me, everything makes sense. Everything in my whole life journey is allowing me to get present in the service of what I'm currently giving. Now, in order to do this, I've had to release a whole load of resistance, anger, upset, position, victim consciousness, sense of being violated, all sorts of different things. I've had to breathe through, heal, resolve. But what I've been left with is the beauty and the wisdom that is given intelligently in every detail of life. And that's where my faith comes in. See, I have faith that even though I don't understand why this is happening right now or what's happening to me, I have faith that it will make sense and have purpose and have meaning at some point in my life. And I've learned some things that don't even feel like they're for me to learn. And, several years down the line, I bump into someone in a coaching session and I pass on that piece of information that I learned. So sometimes we just don't know. There's this metaphysics, which is organizing the life field around us. So I'm saying all this just to invite you just to trust your life and to see if you can get the lesson of every experience of your life and to offer that to Great Spirit, to love, to the universe, so that you can be made good use of in the most beautiful way, in service to this evolution of life field that we're all coexisting in. All of this is in response to what I'm referring to as the motivation for your action. Yeah, your motivation. Yeah. So don't beat yourself up if your motivation is just totally all about you. Yeah, if you're in that field of learning, that's your training ground for this moment in time. Anyone who's had children, for me, it's a very natural next step. It's not just about me, it's about me and the family and the kids. And then I start to work with groups, me, the family, the kids, and the groups. And then now we have global internet. It could be with anyone, everywhere. We're in this state of expansion the whole time. Expanding possibilities and including. Yeah. I just want to breathe for a moment. Just to invite you just to breathe with me if you like. Breathe with yourself. Yeah. And just dropping into that place underneath any activity that you do. And just getting curious about who is acting. And just inviting in the questions like, why am I doing this? What's motivating? Tiger says to me, partnership is the conscious mutual collaboration of disparate points of life which share the same center. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. It's just like right now, it's like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us on this Zoom call, and some other people on Facebook Live, and other people will watch this later. It's like really inviting that, dropping into perhaps considering the possibility we all do share the same center. Yeah, underneath race, color, skin, agenda, definition, we're much more the same and similar than we could ever conceive. So we're coming from that unified field of sameness, where we are heart, essentially. And then we get to love the differences and the uniquenesses, how we've learned to express that in the world. But if you were going to bring world peace around, for example, then I wouldn't start from the surface. I wouldn't look at the realm of difference as the beginning place. I wouldn't look at integrating all the difference of beliefs and philosophies and ideas and behaviors and activities and moralities and all of that. For me, that would be incredibly complex, and it wouldn't work either, because you're starting from the place of the effect or the symptom of expression. I would meditate together and drop underneath the layers of thought, belief, interpretation. I would drop underneath the positional behavior of agenda and power play, and I'm right, you're wrong, and this is the right way, yours is the wrong way. I'd drop underneath all the religious beliefs. I'd drop underneath all the human beliefs. I'd drop underneath belief and free fall into the emptiness where we know each other intimately as the one life, as the one love, and rest into that place of connection. And then very gently from there to very slowly start to breathe deeply and start to resurface again like a diver coming up from the deep through different layers of decompression, if you like, that when we arrive at the surface, we're very, very comfortable with our differences, but what we've lost in the return part of the journey is our positional attachment to them. So I've no longer given my power to the exterior form, the belief, I'm right, you're wrong, to the identity on the outside. Rather, I've reconnected to the essence of self. And from this essence, everything that life, love, wisdom is moving up through all of me to the outside. So you've actually taken everyone into that realm of the peace that Jesus calls this, the peace beyond understanding, which is beyond belief, and centered everyone back into their heart essence. It's a conviction of mine that if all the masters from all the traditions would sit in circle, they'd just sit and smile and love each other. And there'd be no need for philosophy. There'd be no need for a religious doctrine or behavior, or even different forms of prayer. There would just be the recognition that we've realized that we are the one life. So for me, the only way out, this comes from a movie, I think, the only way out is in. Yeah, to in, deeply connect. All right, so I'm talking about now, world peace and communion. But let's look at this for ourselves, yeah? Now imagine right now, you are every culture, tradition, and creed, and this in a sense also represents our sub-personalities. We've got loads of internal positional behavior. I'm sure you've got, there's a picture of the angel and devil on the shoulders, yeah? We've got 1,000 angels, 1,000 devils. And I don't believe there are any devils in the world, yeah, but they're disoriented, lost fragments, if you like, or misinterpreted fragments of the soul energy that are waiting to be loved back home. But in the meantime, they manifest as sub-personalities and subconscious or unconscious forces that create some level of havoc or chaos within us. So a lot of addictive behavior, sabotaging behavior, obsessive behavior is simply the sub-personalities inside of us calling for attention. Yeah? They're the acting out child inside of us. So imagine this chaos. Maybe in your case, you don't have to imagine it's already present, inside of your contradictory thoughts. I'm right, you're wrong. Is this, is that? Do I want to go this way or that way? Which partner, which house, which work? This contrasting the whole time. If that's your case, I invite you to drop all of that, drop it, and go deep dive. Don't stop the deep dive until you feel that you're in the embedded awareness of all that is. Like, release the interpretation, release the attachment, release the agenda, release the power play. Release the need to be right. Release the position. Let it go. Drop in deeper to yourself until you feel the resonance of heart that you are. And breathe into that so fully, so profoundly, that it establishes itself as your new foundation, your ancient foundation. You realize it, you recognize it. And then very gently, you start to resurface and you bring all of that love, wisdom, compassion, energy, beauty back up to the surface. And that's what Joseph Campbell calls the hero's journey. Yeah, we go into great mystery, recover healing, wisdom, creativity, and then we bring it back to community. We bring it back to the world, or we bring it back to everyday consciousness. Yeah. I share a process, a trance dance process, and it's about taking this hero's journey again and again and again. So we become more and more familiar with moving into great mystery and then moving back into personal identity. So it's no longer the either or position. We start to do it so often that we recognize the and-ness. That I am both this. I am both great mystery and beautiful love and this, identity on the surface, which has got these characteristics and thoughts and beliefs and emotions and energies. But what's moving through me, what motivates me, is the life force. That's what really moves in me. That's what really is me. Yeah, which is being expressed through these words and eyes and body and movement. There's a teacher, a master that I was very interested in years ago called Babaji, and one of his teachings or remindings is, he says, work is worship. Yeah. And this expression, it's just 3 words, but this expression went really, really deep with me and invites me again and again and again to see if I'm bringing sacredness into my activity. Work, for me, is not divided into categories of where you earn money and where you do this and you do that. For me, work simply means expression. Yeah? So my work in the world is simply my self-expression. Sometimes that makes money, sometimes that is dance, sometimes that's digging a garden. Yeah? Take away the value of money, take away the cultural interpretation, and it's simply expression. Yeah? Where am I expressing from? If work is worship, then it's the extension of my source energy from the inside to the outside. Yeah? Now, if you can just entertain the possibility that when you're extending your source energy and consciousness from inside to outside, you're going to be feeling the full force of that source energy moving all the way through you. So you're going to feel satisfied. You're going to feel purposeful. You're going to feel alive. You're going to feel enthusiasm, wonder, joy, bliss, peace, and all the qualities, because you're moving the inner life to the outer. Yeah. Now, I think it was Jackie asked me about purpose and meaning in life on the first evening, and I gave a reference to Rolando Toro, creator of Beardanza, whereas his expression is the meaning of life is in the living. Yeah. To create a meaning outside of the present moment is to create a philosophy, is to create an idea or an image. And so I just want you to check in with yourself. Are you living for an image of life, an ideal, some utopian one day, someday, some heavenly afterlife or heavenly present life? Or are you living in the midst of this moment with your full capacity, with your full sense of presence and aliveness? And if you're feeling alive in this moment, you're naturally feeling meaningful and purposeful and directed and guided and expressive. So this is quite a shift of perspective for a lot of people, because a lot of people are searching for what to do in life, or how to do it, or when to do it, and have this belief that when I do that, then I'll be meaningful, then my life will make sense. Instead of right here, right now, now, being yourself through speaking, listening, moving, dancing, eating, lovemaking, whatever you're doing it from this perspective of love. Then you realize what Babaji's inviting us into, work as worship, that our expression is the expression of our natural inherent sacredness. Not sacredness as an idea, not sacredness as an object or an expectation, but the natural flow and impulse of the life force that's inherently sacred. Yeah, but I don't want people to get attached to names of that. I often see these discussions on Facebook about, what is spiritual. It's like people just talk about ideas. It's not something you name. It's not something the Buddhists don't give a name for God, because to do so would to create an image of that, to create a separation from that. Their essential practice is to meditate into the oneness, meditate into the actual experience itself, so you know it directly, without the need for names. Yeah. So what I'm just referring to here is about the several layers here of action, just to put it all together again, just to repeat for us and myself. Is activity, is expression, is the capacity to move. Yeah. Now the mystery here is who's doing the moving. Is the master in the house? Is the master in the Ferrari driving the car? Yeah. And what I suggested earlier was that we make this body, this mind, this emotion, this sensation an offering. Cultivate our talents. Cultivate your gifts. Cultivate your abilities. Refine them, polish them, develop them. That's what people, in my view, mistakenly call self-development. They're really polishing up the instrument. It's like if you've got a flute or a trombone, you're cleaning out the pipes so you get the best sound. You're tuning the guitar. If it's a car, you're taking it to the garage to get an MOT, to get some maintenance. Like you're bringing your vehicles of mind, body, emotion, sensation to their best abilities. And then the act of worship, if you like, of devotion, is then you offer this to your heart. Yeah, which is your being, which is the one who's here right now, who's animating through this experience. It's you. It's you who's showing up in the party at this moment. And it's not your ideas of you. It's not your future of you. You're here. Yeah. And who's here is really nameless and formless in many ways. But you're here showing up as awareness, as experience. Which for me is just, that's the miracle. That is the mystery of life. I feel grateful as I show up in presence. For me it's amusing, it's humorous, it's a moment of gladness to recognize, wow, I'm alive again. I've showed up as life. Not as an idea of life, not as an expectation or someone else's expectation. I've showed up in the midst of this moment in my own sensitivity to my own aliveness. And that for me is meaningful. For me that's purposeful. That's the mission, is to show up as aliveness. And then in the playground of existence and expression, I do loads of stuff. This is a playground. We're doing something on Zoom right now. It's an opportunity to have a little party together. to connect for a moment, to share something. So's the dance floor, so's the DJ set, so's the coaching session. I'm not so busy with the particular things, that the things on the outside, they change shape. I've probably done 30 different job titles and forms and ways of being on the outside. But the one who's doing all of those is the same being that I've always been. It's just that the things on the outside attract different groups of people, which is why I create so much variety, because I like to offer this work to many different groups of people. Some people like to speak, some people like to dance, some people like to breathe. I don't mind. I don't mind which form it takes. And hopefully that is an invitation for you to explore, perhaps, that maybe you've been looking for the perfect form, the perfect way, and missing the central point is that your presence is the perfect way, which is why we started this 5-day challenge with that presence. Come into your full presence, your full power, cultivate your potentials, call in with faith to the depth of the spirit that you are, to show this outer vehicle the vision, a guiding light. Once you've got that inner instruction, which appears as inspiration or imagination or a gift of inner whispering, intuition, then take action on that by making an intention. The minute you make an intention on a vision, you say yes to life. Yes, I want to do this project. I want to offer this action. I want to express in this business and this way with these people. Then the universe has an amazing way of sending you all the right people, the right details, the right circumstances and situations. I just love this inside out creative process. Inside out. You declare, I want this. I'm ready for this. And you open up, and then you start listening. And then you just start receiving everything that's connected to your intention, which helps move you from the next step to the next. And it's so perfectly coordinated. I could tell you 1,000 stories of declaring intention, and in the next few minutes, moments, hours, days, weeks, how everything synchronizes together with that. It's almost like every member of the orchestra was already preparing to perform this symphony, and we're just waiting for the conductor to say, yes, it's happening on Friday. And that yes, it's happening on Friday is when you declare your intention. So I really invite you into the power of that. The power of your yes, the power of your choice. To really ground that. And yes, it's a bit scary to the outer identity. You might be a bit shy or thinks you're not quite ready, or has got all sorts of thought-based excuses for not doing. And invite you to recognize that you are deeper than that. You are this Dharma heart that has a deep love. I'm sure this is why you're listening right now. You have a deep love for life, humanity, existence. Or if you're not ready to hear this, I'm sure it stirs something inside of you. That there's something deeper than acquiring the objects of status and symbol and money and everything else that goes with it. Something deeper, more profound, where you find endless contentment. And I'm not saying that to you as a promise. I'm not saying that to you from a perspective of do this workshop, do this practice, do this way, and then you'll get that, because then I set up a spiritual path for you. It's not about that. It's about recognition and realization that you are this. Your foundation is the heart. And that's for you to discover and to know and to enjoy. But once you've got in touch with that foundation, then the life of Dharma begins. Because once you're embedded in the hummingbird heart, the colibri heart, you're embedded in and as that, then it vibrates as you. It's like you've shifted your access from this outer exterior personality into the heart of the essence of the life. So you've got a different center of reference about who you are, and with that different center of reference comes a whole different level of wisdom and inspiration and guidance. It's intrinsic to the heart. It has onboard intelligence and magic and healing and everything that's needed. And then it moves through the vehicles. I'm happy for all my education as Guy. I feel very privileged and blessed to have been brought up the way I did with my beautiful parents and sisters. And Somerset in England, such a soft, sweet landscape. Kindness, the greenery and the hills. And I feel touched by the life I've had to travel around the world and meet many different cultures, civilizations, and as I said, the many masters, I've sat at their feet and alongside them and walked along many different ways and received so many blessings. Yeah. All of this has come from my essential wish: I'm here to serve. So the universe says, great, he stuck his hand in the air, let's give him exactly what he needs for his way, for his dharma to unfold. Yeah. I want to give you another word. It's called terma, Terma, and it's a Tibetan tradition. And a terma is, this is one way it's described, okay? So these high Tibetan lamas who realize these ecstatic states often, and embedded in and as them often, that's what gives you the qualification that you're a lama, not the animal. Often I find that funny that they're called these lama animals. Anyway, the lama, Tibetan lama, who has this mystical awareness and embedded connectedness to their heart field, when it approaches the physical death moment, the transition moment, or prior to that, they have an insight it's happening, and they often do this conscious dying process. If you've never heard of this, it's a whole phenomenal study where people go into deep meditation and exit through the crown, and their body stays in lotus meditation position for days, sometimes in some cases weeks, but to all apparent biological measurements, they're dead. They've passed from the physical body. And to all medical science, it doesn't make any sense. How can the body stay immaculate without decay? And it's phenomenal. Anyway, there is this whole metaphysical process of conscious dying, which is possible, which is a stage of evolution that most of us are not even aware of, that we can consciously choose the moment, the how, the way, the what, at certain moments when we feel that we've accomplished and given and shared what we've come to do. Anyway, prior to that, some of these lamas establish a terma, in the collective consciousness. Right? Now, sometimes this is a written script or a scroll. So, like, the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls were found at a certain point. Yeah, this is one way of understanding it. That they leave a message, and then they go and hide it in a wall or in a casket or somewhere on the earth. And then in the Tibetan tradition, they reincarnate as a future master at some point down the line. And this future master goes to this specific hole in the wall and finds this terma that was written by a previous incarnation of themselves. And it's written as a continuation of the work. Yeah. Now, maybe this sounds strange to you. Maybe it's the first time you've ever heard this. Yeah? Anyway, I want to give a symbolic meaning for this as well. Imagine that you are consciousness and energy, and reincarnation is not reincarnation of the individual personality over and over again. Reincarnation simply means the birthing of life. You keep incarnating in different forms, different creative vehicles over and over again. The one life keeps re-manifesting itself. Even in quantum physics, energy just changes shape. It never disappears or dies. It just changes shape and form. So it makes perfect sense to me that consciousness and energy keeps inhabiting new vehicles of expression. Yeah? This is the way that I see it. So I don't see past or future lives as individual personalities. Anyway, within this context, consciousness and energy sets in motion certain evolutionary processes. Say you've dedicated your whole life to realizing something about the refinement of the emotional body, or the nature of imagination, or pure thought. You've been on this internal ecstatic inquiry or intasic inquiry to really come to a very clear and wise understanding about a certain functionality that's relevant for all human beings. So this may be your secret inner work. And at a certain lifetime, physical lifetime, it's time for you to pass on because the body is old and it's made good use of this vehicle. But you want to carry on with this work, or life wants to carry on with this work. And so in the next appearance of this consciousness and energy, it reconnects to this terma, and it pretty much picks it up and then carries on with the journey. I once read this. There's a beautiful book. It's called The Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. It's a very big book, yeah. And there's a picture at the back of it, this Tibetan master who's like the head of many different lineages. And I was so enthralled by his presence, his eyes. He's a bald guy, big face, and if you know this book, you'll see him. Anyway, I got really curious about whether he'd reincarnated as as somebody. And I made it a quest and a mission to find this new incarnation of this Lama. And I found him, and he reincarnated in, probably, 50, 100 years later. And I met this guy, and just sat in his presence just to receive his transmission. But it really woke up inside of me this possibility that life is perpetual life. And it's coming here to evolve itself and grow itself and expand itself. So coming back to termers, okay? If you take on a termer, it means that you have a living potential or possibility. And it's your dharma. It's like the dharma of the heart for you to realize and work on this particular aspect of the human evolutionary process. And so I ask you to consider this about yourself, about your deepest work, your deepest work, the work of the heart. What have you come here to realize? What have you come here to express? What piece of work from the heart are you continuing? Is it work on relationship? Is it work on self-expression? There's something that we're evolving inside of us, each one of us, that then contributes to the collective field. Everything we live gets downloaded into the Akashic library, or the world soul, or the collective unconscious, or into superconsciousness. There's different words for this internal dynamic. It becomes part of the grid of existence, and it makes it easier and smoother for generations to come. So this conversation, which has never happened before like this, ever on this earth, this is like leading edge conversation about the nature of creation and action and expression, will never happen in this way, through me, through your listening, in this moment in time. Now gets downloaded. Literally, I'll make a video of this and we'll upload it. It's symbolic as well of the energetic field we're downloading it into. And then when people, tomorrow, the next day, in future years, and many years into the future, come across this topic about work and purpose and meaning and self-expression, they're going to collect like a relay race what we've just been talking about. We're passing on our wisdom. We're passing on our insight for future generations. We're always in service. As we're evolving something, we're evolving it for the whole species. And I'm saying this because sometimes in our world, in our work, we get so individualistic, we think, my expression has no meaning, no significance. And what I want to say to you is that every moment of love, every moment of realization is work in worship, is significant for all of humanity. It makes the path clearer and cleaner for everybody. Which then invites us to go even deeper into the question, who is here now? Who am I? What is the nature of my work? And where am I expressing from? And my invitation is deepen, deepen, deepen into your heart. Polish your gifts up. Align yourself for service. If that's something that sets your heart on fire, that you know this to be true about you, that you're here to serve the evolution of humanity and life on Earth, and not just on Earth, life throughout the multiverse. You've come here to extend the possibilities of God. I once read this article, said that we are all embryonic gods and goddesses. It's a bit like the seed of the oak tree. We have all the potential of divinity within us, and our work is not only just to wake up to that, but then to evolve that. And this gives a deeper indication, perhaps, to the nature of the purpose of existence itself, is that the life force is evolving itself to see what's possible. And we are enacting this process through us. We are part of this enactment. We are part of this divine theatre, that through us we are evolving the nature of what's possible. So personally, I don't believe in fixed laws of anything. I think they're universal habits, and that we can upgrade, up-level, and develop and cultivate what people call even new laws of existence. There's very few people on the earth who've mastered levity, but some have. And if one person has out of the whole species, it means that not only is there just gravity, there's also levity. If there's descension, there's also ascension. If there's healing, for example, if one person, 10 people, 1,000 people manifest this, it's available for everybody. We have only just begun, in my view, to step into the quantum heart field of possibilities. If you listen carefully, or did listen on the second evening, what I was referring to about potential as the potential to access the quantum grid. and meditate on this, do an inquiry on this, and consider what this might mean for you in your life, then pretty much what it means is that whatever you focus on, your energy goes there and you become that. Yeah, there's this guy who's developed this process. He calls it quantum jumping. And, I personally can't do this like this yet, but I'm open to the possibility that one day he can't play the violin, and then he quantum jumps into consciousness energy that can play the violin, and he downloads that software program, and then he can play the violin. And this particular person claims that he's learnt languages overnight and all sorts of things. Now, this is the beginning of a whole new way of education, new way of learning. If this is possible, that our focus, our attention, our intention can give us access to wisdom, knowledge, energy, love, beauty, then it changes the whole nature of purpose and potential and self-expression. And I'm excited about this. I'm because I can realize this. You're listening to this. I've got other students all over the world who are listening to this kind of conversation. We're opening ourselves up to recognize our multidimensional nature, our heart nature, our essence. And even though there's an appearance on the world of global chaos and confusion and all this kind of drama that's playing out on the outside, there's always the opportunity in any given moment, regardless of cultural conditions or interpretations, of us dropping into our sacredness. And personally, I've been using this time the last year, if you like, as a deepening retreat, retreating myself back into essential awareness, and not getting caught up in the distraction of what's going on the political stage or environmental stage, but to recognize what's going on in the existential stage inside of me, because that for me is where the stable ground is. The stable ground of knowing who and how I am, and that stands the test of time. Civilizations pass, they come and go, political regimes come and go, but the heart remains. So what I'm talking about here is the long game, like the deep game, which is not disturbed by the surface ripples. And personally, I feel called to stabilize more, to anchor even deeper into my heart presence, and to remain in that place of contentment and inner peace and depth. Because as the rest of the world gets lost in the madness and the chaos and confusion, it's going to be looking to people who can hold solid ground in a different territory, which is not based on the changing circumstances of conditions. So I feel this is a really beautiful opportunity for all of us right now to really engage in the deepening inquiry into the nature of the heart, to the nature of existence, and to learn to stabilize and come in contact with that in ourselves. So I've used a few words, dharma, termas, existential inquiry, all these different things. These are just words that are pointing you towards things that I sense you probably already know very well. And hopefully in this conversation, this dialogue, it's just stimulating an opening for you to engage more deeply with all of this. I'd like to ask an obvious question. Does any of this make sense? You're still here listening. It's like maybe you like the sound of my voice. I'm wondering anything I'm saying. Mika, what do you think? We want more. We want more. You might have to clarify it a little bit more. What would you like more of? Or is that just something that you want personally? Can you give me another sentence, Mika? Oh, this training. Okay. Okay, great. Let me respond to that in two different ways, okay? Okay, so the wisdom way, the wisdom way, all right, is be careful of the search for more, okay? Be careful of the search for more. Yeah. So it's just, I just want to say that out loud. Sometimes we experience ourselves like a hungry ghost, and nothing we do can ever fill us up. We can never get enough food, sex, money, attention, relationship, anything. Yeah. Because the being that we're interpreting ourselves as is interpreting ourselves as lacking, empty, and without. I'm not saying this about you, Mika. This is a general comment, okay? So sometimes we have this kind of hungry ghost inside of us that's always searching for the next desire, next stimulus, next thing, yeah? Right. So that's one thing, to identify that. I can identify that in myself from different stages of my life where there's been this hungry search. And when I sat deep into myself, I realized it's because I was feeling empty. or I felt like I was missing something, and I was trying to fill up a hole. And you just can't do that. There's not enough food or sex or money or anything that can ever fill up the existential hole. So in that regard, what I did was I started to notice that there was a hole inside of me, there was a gap, there was a lack, and start to bring love and attention back into that, and listen very clearly to the place inside of me that was feeling self-abandoned. And as I started to bring love and attention back into that, then the hunger on the outside subsided. Right? So that's one thing. Now, to say something completely different about exactly the same subject, I have a love for more, for more deepening, for more wisdom, for more evolution, because there's a divine scientist inside of me that wants to look under every stone, speak to every master, every realizer, and just to have this beautiful deepening and rounding of the wisdom of the universe, in the humility that I'm never going to get the answers, right? That I'm never going to get to a conclusion, and I never want to get to a conclusion. This is an open, expanding universe. I'm living inside the question. Question is a quest. Right? So there is a place in me which is more, which is hunger, which is thirst, which is desire. Yeah. But like I said to you at the beginning of this call, we're multidimensional beings, because at the same time, I'm also aware of another dimension of me that's very, very peaceful, that doesn't need anything, not a drop, that I feel full and content. And that allows me to go and search for the more. Not because I need it, not because I'm desperate, but because I'm simply curious about the possibility. So I'm just responding that way right now, so that we can start to get an orientation about where our desire for more is coming from, and to also open up to this coexistence, that I can want more and not want more in the same moment. Yep. So that's a long-winded answer. You did 2/5 of the session, you got 150% of the offering. That's a good exchange. I like that. Thank you. Nice. Exactly. And in a sense, that's an answer to what I was just sharing there. It's not about the volume of content. It's about the depth of connection. And whether you showed up at the beginning, 2/5, or in the last moment, if you get the depth of connection, you get all of it. Because as I invited you to listen to, it's where I'm communicating from, which is really the teaching. Yeah. What I'm actually talking about is the content, it's the surface material, and hopefully it has some connecting capacity with you. But really, it's an invitation to listen to the words I'm saying on the outside, so you can drop into what's already on the inside that it resonates with. Now, being practical, since this is a teaching on action, Mika, I mentioned the word February there. So I like this particular form of doing this challenge. I was inspired by Tony Robbins to do this. I like this format, and I tuned into it, and I feel good about doing it this way. So just to let you know what I mean by this way is that I can offer the challenge for free. Yeah, so here I am for free, no obligation to pay a drop. Yeah, I like to do this work. Yeah? I love to do this work, and at the same time, if you want more, then yes, I have been writing this workbook for the last 2 weeks. I've recorded all these videos, and I've got a great device that transcribes them. It does need a bit of editing work. Yeah? But anyway, I'm putting together an overview of all 5 evenings in a workbook. And if you want that, to pay for that, £22 would be very beneficial to me, because this is also my practical work that I work from. Over the years, I've also been videoing lots of things around conscious creativity, and I'm putting together a course which originally had 85 videos in. I know Anne's has been engaged in that course, and I'm reducing down the number of videos so it's even more precise and more coherent. So I've put together a conscious creativity mastery video series, and I'm asking just £33 for that. And if you just want to make a contribution, that's really warmly welcome. The reason I'm doing this for free is on Facebook and Zoom and YouTube. Doing something for free these days attracts more people to listen. If you put a price up front and say it's £100 or £200 or it's priceless, people don't turn on, they don't switch on, they don't come and join in. because the marketplace at the moment is offer a free gift of value. So I really, really hope I've given you some value. Tiger says he's got 150%. That's good value for time, attention. Yeah. And at the same time, there is an open request that payment is welcome if you want to give something now or at any point. So the next challenge I'm offering, I've decided to do it not in 5 days. I'm trying to be more realistic with people's timetables and abilities. We're going to do a 3-day challenge, 19th, 20th, and 21st of February. Yeah, I'm going to do 3 evenings, 2.5 hours each evening, and it's going to be on abundance. Okay? And I mean abundance on all levels. So really coming in contact with that place in us that feels scarce and lacking and unable, and noticing how that manifests in lack of money, lack of relationships, lack of anything. And we're going to learn how to identify that and drop that and move back into our centeredness. Yeah. So I'll be approaching this subject pretty similarly to how I approached this one in many ways, deepening into essence and then learning to express from there. I work with a very simple formula from self-realization to self-expression. So the deeper I come into realization of the nature of self, the more I have to express with. If I've got a shallow self-realization, I'll have a shallow self-expression. It's not good or bad, it's just shallow. If it's deep, it's deep. Yeah. And I want to invite you the possibility of exploring more depth in yourself so that you have more quality, enrichment, and pleasure in your existence. Yeah. So I'm going to be offering that in February. There's a link, I put it on the group to that, and there's another group to join, calling it simply the Abundance Challenge. So please join that if you want to stay connected. And I've got lots and lots of work, some videos and all sorts of things. You know where I am. I'm Guy Barrington on Facebook. I've got an email, colibriheart1@gmail.com. Make contact if you want to explore any more of this work in any way. Yeah. So I want to thank you very much for being on the call this evening, and your comments and engagement and presence, and just sending this deep wish for us listening here and those who are going to watch the replay later or in the moment you're watching it, just that you can really open up to the beauty of your essence, really celebrate and fall in love with yourself and the life that you are, and give space to join the party of your own existence, so that you love your life as it's happening, not as some afterthought, not as some memory or some future possibility, but you're living and loving your life as it's happening, as it's unfolding, as it's emerging. And together with this, on all your dimensions, calling in the powerful vision for you, that inspire you, powerful courage to plant the seeds of intention, so that you have the capacity and willingness to serve the life that you've been given in vision, to take action on that. And then the beautiful capacity as you, as the heart presence, to be the symphony conductor and conducting this magical dance of creation from the creator through creativity into creation, and really celebrate the fact that we're evolving life together. Through our realization, through our conversation, through our actions, through our visions and intentions, we are evolving the very nature of life itself. And this, I know, will have deepening benefit for future generations to come. And the next person who listens to this video, it will have more benefit for them, make it easier, open the way to deepen and connect to our heart space, the colibri heart that we all are in foundation and essence. So thank you very much, everybody, and hope to see you soon in the next encounter. Bye bye for now. Bye bye.